Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Congressman Hank Johnson here with my Fender Stratocaster.
If you're like me, and most of the people I know, possibly everyone that I know, you know who the president is, you might know who the vice president is, you might know who the governor in your state is, assuming that you're from the USA, something similar, I guess, if you're from somewhere else, but you don't really know a whole lot outside of that. And you probably, honestly, a lot of people probably don't even know who the vice president is most of the time, because it doesn't really matter most of the time. But as I've been getting more into politics, I found myself incapable of talking about politics to anyone I know because no one knows who these people are. So it's not like I'm getting to learn every single person in the House of Representatives in the entire country, but this guy has recently caught my eye. You know, we know all the celebrity politicians. Like, if you're a little bit interested in politics, you know all the celebrities. You know AOC, you know Newsom, you know Mamdani, you know all those people. But this, as he said, is Hank Johnson, Congressman Hank Johnson. And despite being from Georgia, I had never thought two ways about this man. I don't even know if I'd ever heard of him before. Probably sometime in passing conversation, but I didn't know anything about him. And recently I've been going down the rabbit hole that is Hank Johnson.
Mr. Speaker, like a kid at a carnival, I rise in full support of H.R. 527, the Responsible Helium Administration and Stewardship Act of 2013. Mr. Speaker, I'm relieved that, and I'm sure that the American people are relieved as well, that Congress is finally going to do something about one of the most pressing issues today. That is, we've got to ensure access to helium for all. Surely those harmed by sequestration and those harmed by the Republican failure to appoint budget conferees appreciate the House spending 2 full legislative days on this most critical issue. The American people certainly understand the fact that 48 hours of this House's precious time was necessary to pass such a non-controversial bill. I'm pleased to support this bill, which shows that this Tea Party Congress will make the tough choice to keep children's birthday parties on schedule and give industries that rely on helium the lift that they deserve. Imagine, Mr. Speaker, a world without balloons. How can we make sure that the injustice of there being no helium for comedians to get that high-pitched voice that we all hold near and dear to our hearts? Imagine a world without balloons.
Wow. Well said. And he actually goes on a little bit longer with this.
Today, the House has chosen to just simply float above it all.
Yeah, he makes a few more jokes. Now, this is humor, right? So you could pass this off as really dry humor, and that'd be fine. Except for the fact that he's spent the past 2 minutes, and he'll spend a little bit more time complaining about how the GOP, the Republicans, are wasting time regarding this bill. Meanwhile, everything he's just said was basically a sketch about helium. And if anyone doesn't remember or doesn't know about this, there's a finite amount of helium on Earth, and it's floating away into space. And so he was making jokes about balloons, but it's more about like medical procedures and stuff that they need the helium for. Anyway, he was kind of undermining himself, wasn't he? I mean, he was making jokes, and they were clearly jokes, but he was undermining himself by wasting time while complaining about people wasting time. Now, here's a different video, which this and the other ones after it, I'm not sure they're jokes. They kind of worry me that a congressman is saying these things completely deadpan.
No, this is a island that at its widest level is 12 miles from shore to shore, and at its smallest level or smallest location. It's 7 miles between one shore and the other. Is that correct?
I don't have the exact dimensions, but to your point, sir, I think Guam is a small island.
Very small island, and about 24 miles, if I recall, long. So 24 miles long, about 7 miles wide at the least widest place on the island, and about 12 miles wide on the widest part of the island.
It's like the setup for a joke, isn't it? I mean, you expect this all to be the setup for some sort of crazy, like, gotcha punchline. By the way, the quality is because this is from 16 years ago. He's been a congressman for 19 years, like 19 and a half years at this point.
And I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that figure with me, sir.
Isn't it like, it's like a gotcha question? Do you know this? Can you tell me this? Oh, well, you know what? I do happen to know this. That's what it feels like, right? That's what he's going to say, right?
I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
Tight up to the mast, upside down, so when the boat flips, we'll be the right way up.
He thinks the island is going to tip over and capsize. Okay, yeah, because islands aren't made of, like, tectonic plates crashing together and then volcanoes erupting and molten magma coming up from inside the Earth's crust and, you know, cooling in the water and forming layers and layers and layers until it's above sea level. Yeah, it makes sense. They can just tip over, like a boat. It's a joke, right?
We don't anticipate that. The Guam population, I think, currently about 175,000, and again, with 8,000 Marines and their families, it's an addition of about 25,000 more into the population.
And also things like the environment, the sensitive areas of the environment, coral reefs and those kinds of things. And I know that, you know, lots of people don't like to think about that, but, you know, we didn't think about global warming either. And now we do have to think about it. And so
It's a joke, right? He doesn't actually think the island's going to tip over and capsize, does he?
Now up. Down.
Okay, I'm starting to get a little bit worried that this congressman of 19 and a half years is still a congressman. But hey, let's move on. Now, I was going to skip the midgets versus giants analogy because it's quite long, but I'm going to have two shorter versions of it because there's the initial statement that he used, the initial analogy, and then the apology. And I feel like the apology is some sort of backhanded comment about the N-word. It probably an entire setup by him. I don't know. It could be. I mean, it could be some sort of Machiavellian setup. But I found this video. This person hasn't uploaded in 5 years. Conspiracy Boulder News. This is so eerie. This is from 2015.
For some unknown reason, Congressman Johnson envisions caged fights between a giant and 30 midgets. And he announces that the secret to domination and success for midgets is in banding together and acting in concert as a mob. Congressman Johnson seems confident that midgets can win if they band together. Let's have Mr. Johnson spell it out for us.
Is that like the world's first VTuber? They were way ahead of the curve with the whole AI YouTube slop thing. I mean, there's countless YouTube videos of AI people just talking into the camera and blinking 1,000 times per minute. But that like really stuck out to me. It's like a creepy how like ahead of the time they were with this. Maybe they're not the first person to do it, but I just saw it and I wanted to include it because it's going to show this, the midget thing. And yeah, the midget thing's weird. And there's two reasons I want to show this. One was this weird VTuber proto thing, and then the other one is the M-word concept.
What happens when you put in a cage fight, a giant in with a midget. Well, the midget will not win the fight, I'm going to tell you that. Why? He just doesn't carry enough weight to do so. But if you put 30 midgets in with that giant, then the midgets have a chance.
Yeah, he goes on to explain how weight classes work, or he at least attempts to do that. But this video will be an hour long if I let him finish all of his thoughts. So we're going to skip to the apology. Oh, and this is actually skipping several minutes into the 2 minutes into the apology.
To my discovery, just within the last 12 hours or so, I have found that the use of the the use of the M word.
He definitely did that on purpose.
Is no longer socially acceptable.
Because he's trying to make a comment about the N word.
And the M word refers to a group of people, the little people. But when we say little people, I'm not talking about the Leona Helmsley little people. I'm not talking about the 47%. I'm not talking about the takers instead of the makers, as some would describe them. I'm not talking about the middle class, working people, working poor people. That's not what is meant by the little people term. It really refers to a medical condition.
Like I said, he goes on and on and on. And that, again, that started 2 minutes into his apology, where previously he was talking about the social normalcy of the N-word.
Everybody knows what the N-word is.
See, so the reason I wanted to talk about that is because of the narrative there is behind the N-word, the Latin word for black, which isn't really a slur at all. So this last video I wanted to talk about, happily enough, has a comment about this too, in fact. This is from Roland S. Martin. This is a new video, not from a million years ago, as you can see just from the quality of it, but from 4 days ago. So scrolling down to the comments here, you have a comment by JazzDub4958, which says, "For a start, stop saying African Americans. We are Americans. Black Americans. Stop othering us to suit white people who think this country is theirs." And then 2 comments down from that, you see 814 raised say, "Stop saying Black Americans. You keep trying to lump us in with black immigrants." Well, that leaves one option. You can't be an African American. You can't be a Black American. The only thing left is the N-word, right? So you have one person who's trying to segregate Black Americans away from Black immigrants. Isn't Black American very explicitly a Black American and not a Black immigrant? I mean, a naturalized Black immigrant is then a Black American, right? So you're saying that you want to be called something besides a Black American as opposed to a Black immigrant, but Black immigrants aren't Black Americans to begin with. And the other person doesn't want to be called African American. They want to be called a Black American because they think that being called an African American is some sort of white Illuminati scheme, even though it's the Black people that want to be called African Americans, and the white people don't care what you're called. What do you want us to do? Help us help you, all right? You won't help yourself. Help us help you. Barack Obama wouldn't help you. Help us help you. What do you want? You can't just have everything, all right? Anyway, going back to the video.
I have been making this point since last year that this is an effort to defund Black America. And when you look at what this administration is doing, when you look at what these Republicans in the House and the Senate are doing, it is an absolute attack on Black America.
And I believe the argument there is that Black Americans are poorer, therefore all of these kinds of things they're passing, legislation, bills, acts, whatever it is, not just the voting stuff, but insurance and a whole lot of sort of stuff. The SNAP being disallowed for Coca-Cola and candy and crap like that, like whatever it is, it's worse for people who are poorer, basically, is what he's saying. But the thing is, white people aren't really stopping black people at this point. It's black people who are stopping black people. I mean, black people are making everyone racist towards them at this point. Like it's not white people starting the teen takeovers. All right, it's not white people who are forcing you to vandalize Walgreens and McDonald's and crap like that. Like you can't just blame everything on everybody else and stay a victim forever. So I understand that there are black people who are going to suffer from this, but at the same time, you can't just stay a permanent victim, a permanent welfare state. Like it just doesn't work.
Yeah, they are celebrating their 1-year anniversary of the Big Ugly Bill this week. That bill knocks millions of people off of the healthcare rolls, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, tax premiums, tax credits that they cut. And so insurance is less affordable now. 24 million, well, not 24 million, about 10 million people have lost their insurance under Obamacare.
Looks like he's reading, but yet he still got it wrong by 14 million. I'm not sure what exactly is going on there.
Cut Medicaid and Medicare by the tune of about $1 trillion. They've cut SNAP benefits. And of course, it's not just black people who reap those benefits. It's white people also, but disproportionately, they're trying to hurt black people economically. They want us to die.
Right. So they're saying that white people are going to suffer to make black people suffer more. But you realize that yellow people and brown people and every other people, they also suffer, right? And it's not about skin color. It's about wealth. And this myth that's constantly floating around in black communities and black discussions of generational wealth. Well, I mean, my family is white, really white, and we don't have generational wealth. I don't know a single person who has generational wealth. You have to look at the state of things and look at the actual statistics, the murder rates, the violence rates, the childbirth rates, and you have to really put one and one together and say that, you know, black people are holding black people back more than anybody else. Sure, there's racist white people. Sure, there's some white people out there trying to hold back black people. It's bound to be. There's bound to be, right? Of course there is. But more than anybody else, it really, to me, looks like black people are holding black people back.
And then on top of that, they're trying to do everything they can in the United States Supreme Court to keep us from voting. They want to be able to suppress our votes at will.
It's not at all what happened. They just wanted black people's votes to be mixed in with everyone else's votes. But black people want to be segregated. You even saw this during Carmelo Anthony. People outright said, if we still had segregation, Carmelo wouldn't have been in prison because he wouldn't have stabbed Austin Metcalf. They're outright demanding segregation. They want their votes to be separate. They want their schools to be separate. I mean, they're literally demanding segregation, which is kind of like the exact same thing the Confederacy did in a way. I mean, not the slavery part exactly, but they basically want to secede from America, right? Like they want Black America to become its own separate thing, which you can very clearly see in those comments before about how they don't want to be African American and they don't want to be Black American, right?
And they're giving the executive the power to fire employees, all federal employees, about 3 million federal employees that are now subject to being fired at will if they don't do what Trump tells them to do.
He's framing that as if Trump's a dictator who's going to force everyone to do exactly as he commands, but it's probably not exactly like that. And there are plenty of employees who I'm sure could be cut, plenty of people who, I don't know, maybe aren't fulfilling their role as a politician quite as well as they maybe should.
They are now subject to being fired. This is at the hand of the United States Supreme Court, which the Republican Party built.
Oh, hang on. The Republican Party built the Supreme Court. Well, I know not everyone trusts Wikipedia, but you can go look this up yourself. It's just an easy source to find. The first United States Congress provided the detailed organization of the federal judiciary through the Judiciary Act of 1789. They decided that the Supreme Court, as the country's highest judicial tribunal, would be based in the nation's capital and would be composed of the Chief Justice and 5 associate justices. Meanwhile, the Republican Party was founded in 1854. hang on, what's that number? 1789 is when the Supreme Court was made, and then 1854 is when the Republican Party was made by anti-slavery activists. Just to put that in perspective, the people he's claiming made the evil Supreme Court didn't at all do that because they didn't exist yet. They weren't even alive in most cases. And the people who did make the Republican Party were anti-slavery activists. Yes, he likely means stacking the court, but both parties do this. Both do it, but only Democrats benefit from the cheat code that is women, who are almost always leftists, with Biden and Obama even very recently appointing 3 women. Not just 3 leftists, 3 women. And even Trump seated one who, as you can see, with the birthright citizenship, did not exactly vote in his favor. And even then, you have to look at what he literally said. Taking Johnson's words very literally paints a different picture, a very different picture. And the average person doesn't know when the Republican Party was created. They don't know when the Supreme Court was created. They don't know who created what. And they don't care to research it. They'd simply say that it's proof that Trump is evil. The evil right wing created the Supreme Court, and that's why the Supreme Court needs to be destroyed. Which, by the way, later in this video, I'm not going to include it because I can't include this guy's entire video in my own video, but later on, Johnson is quoted as saying that they want to add in term limits to the Supreme Court to make sure that you can't just stay on there forever. So that is sort of in line with destroying the Supreme Court, isn't it? But do go on, please, Mr. Johnson.
To take action and do things judicially that they can't do legislatively. So we are seeing the court destroying our democracy and establishing or reestablishing or establishing in its absence a plutocracy where rich people...
where rich people rule. Here's the thing, rich people have always ruled. And poor people have always been the downtrodden and the oppressed. The lowest bidder victimizing themselves and thinking that they must be correct about everything because of how pitiful they are in their own misery. Look, we all feel that way, but it doesn't make it right. Like, we don't have any sort of entitlement to anything just because we're the lowest bidder. And victimizing yourself, it just kind of makes you seem pathetic to everyone. And I don't know, I guess if that's what you want to live in a permanent welfare state, a permanent state of welfare, well, that's pretty sad, isn't it?
Rule the day. And all of the black people, all of the people of color get crumbs off the table.
And there it is. They apparently want to live in a welfare state. I mean, you can't just be living off of SNAP forever. You can't be living off the government forever. And you can't blame white people for the state of the ghetto and the hood as if black people... Like, what do you want white people to do? Like I said before, what do you want white people to do to fix the problem? You want white people to come into the ghetto and the hood and treat it like a colonialization project to fix black America? Is that what you want? You know that would be rejected. It would not only be rejected, it would make things a million times worse. It'd be pouring gasoline on a fire. But if Obama was president for 8 years and that didn't change anything for the better, then what the hell is going to? But as I said earlier, Hank Johnson assumed office on January 3rd, 2007. So he's been in there for a while, and damn, I mean he's got some bangers out there. Like, I know everyone says stupid things now and then, but some of these things are like does he really think the island can capsize? I don't know, but I don't think he's wrong about everything. Like he made some pretty on point comments about Israel back in 2016. He was against Israel and what they were doing, saying that saying the Israel occupation of the West Bank had created highways to which Palestinians are denied access and which cut off Palestinian neighborhoods from each other, that walls and Israeli checkpoints restrict Palestinian freedom of movement, that Jewish people are taking homes when Palestinian residents miss spending a night there, and they fly the Israeli flag while Palestinians are not permitted to fly their own. He was also purported as saying that their homes were being stolen or destroyed, and said there's a steady stream, almost like termites, and that settlement activity has marched forward with impunity. And he was then attacked on social media by the Anti-Defamation League, saying that this termite thing was anti-Semitic or something, which he gave like a half-assed apology for. And frankly, he shouldn't need to apologize for that, because it's not anti-Semitic to compare someone to something else. I mean, they were basically doing that, and they kind of still did do that. Like, he said this back in 2016. He was pretty on point with that. And, you know, I'm not saying he's wrong about everything, but I don't know. Maybe he's just not right for Congress. I don't know. I feel like he actually is trying to trying to do right. But, you know, when you have certain perspectives as a black guy growing up in Georgia, and then he also took courses in university in Texas as well, then you're going to have certain mentalities hammered into you when he grew up anyway. And so I think that's probably affecting him quite a lot. And then it's also the case of, you know, what will you say for a vote? He did originally have protect TPS behind him in the opening of that video, didn't he? It's protect temporary protected status. Why would you have to protect something that's temporary? It's temporary. And this video that you're looking at right now is titled Hey Trump, where he sings about how he doesn't like Trump and how he likes democracy. So I just kind of wanted to make this video because I'd never heard, it's kind of like a PSA. Like, I don't think I'd ever heard of Hank Johnson before, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there writing legislation and voting on bills and stuff whom people have never heard of that may or may not think that islands can capsize. And I think maybe people should be a bit more aware of this, because as I previously to making a YouTube video didn't really know much about any of the people in politics, none of the people I know in real life know anything about these people in politics, maybe we should start paying attention.
Correct. It's a GOP war on Black America. And if we don't stand up and fight back, we're going to be back in the cotton fields.
Oh, come on. You're being ridiculous. I'm sure they have like combine harvesters or something doing that now. Don't be ridiculous.
Of course, ultimately, this goes back to the great American farmer, the great American cotton farmer, and making cotton great again in our country.
Oh, God. Did somebody turn up the heat?
Oh, yeah, you sweating? You sweating a little bit, Ronald?
No,
yeah?
It's just the climate.
That's it, y'all. Thank you.